The Big, Beautiful Breakup. From bromance to battle for Elon and the Dawn. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
The top news stories
and conversations that matter to you.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
You can go your own way. You can call it another lonely day. You can go your own way.
They used to get along so well.
His name is Elon Musk. He saved free speech. He created so many different great things. Where is he? Come on up here, Elon. He created the first major American car company in generations, and his rocket company is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Come here.
The true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. Fight, fight, fight. Blood coming down the face.
The world's richest person, Elon Musk, on the campaign trail, wholeheartedly supporting Donald Trump in his election bid just 8 months ago. Now it's a different kind of fight, fight, fight. From a White House bromance to the breakup heard around the world and followed in real time on social media. The bitter falling out between Elon Musk and Donald Trump may have been building for some time. Musk has been critical of Trump's budget bill, what Trump calls the big, beautiful bill. Musk has claimed it undermines the work that he did at Doge. And on X this week, the social media platform owned by Musk, he called the bill outrageous and pork-filled and said shame on those who voted for it. In the Oval Office, President Trump defended the bill and said Musk started to turn on him when his administration announced it was getting rid of the EV sales mandate.
Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars, and it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have all. We want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, he became a little bit different, and I can understand that.
Trump went on to claim he actually helped Elon Musk.
And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape, he said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
He then suggested Musk might be suffering from Trump derangement syndrome.
I'll tell you, he's not the first. People leave my administration and they love us. And then at some point they miss it so badly, and some of them embrace it and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it. But we have it with others too. They leave and they wake up in the morning and the glamour's gone. The whole world is different and they become hostile. I don't know what it is. Someday you'll write a book about it and you'll let us know.
Well, now we know what Elon Musk really thinks about Donald Trump. Musk said on X yesterday that Trump never would have won the election without his help. Quote, such ingratitude. Musk claimed that Trump's tariff policy would lead to a recession in the United States. And then he posted, quote, time to drop the really big bomb. Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason he may not have made it public. He also agreed with a post that suggested Trump be impeached and replaced by J.D. Vance. Later, Donald Trump posted on his own social media platform, Truth Social, threatening to cancel all the contracts that Elon Musk's companies have with the U.S. government, saying it would save billions and billions of dollars. Shortly after that, Musk responded by threatening to decommission his SpaceX rockets that fly missions to the International Space Station. Musk has been dropping hints for weeks that he hasn't been seeing eye to eye with Trump, such as when he sat down for an interview with CBS News that aired last weekend.
It's not like I agree with everything the administration does. So it's like I agree with much of what the administration does, but we have differences of opinion. There are things that I don't entirely agree with. But it's difficult for me to bring that up in an interview because then it creates a bone of contention. So then I'm a little stuck in a bind where I'm like, well, I don't want to, speak out against the administration, but I don't want to. I also don't want to take responsibility for everything the administration is doing.
Musk has been in the spotlight for other reasons as well. He was seen in the White House sporting a Shiner that he claimed was the result of horseplay with his son, something Trump mentioned yesterday as well.
You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk, and even with the black eye, I said, "Do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't think so," which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess.
Musk was also the subject of an investigation by the New York Times that said he was using all kinds of drugs while campaigning for Trump, such as ketamine, ecstasy, mushrooms, and Adderall. Musk denied that and said the New York Times was, quote, lying its ass off. What must the MAGA movement think of all this? Well, one of the original MAGA men, Steve Bannon, ripped into Elon Musk, saying his space company should be seized by the government and Musk should be deported.
SpaceX. President Trump tonight should sign an executive order calling for the Defense Production Act to be called in SpaceX and seize SpaceX tonight before midnight. The U.S. government should seize it. If a guy's going to sit there and start making quotes, also, as Stuart Stevens talked back in January, I don't know why we haven't had a full investigation. Look, if you're going to deport illegal aliens, you got to deport illegal aliens. The good go with the good, the goose and the gander. They got to go back to this, as Stuart Stevens talked about, and go through everything about his immigration status. I happen to believe, given the facts that I've been shown, that he's an illegal alien.
Could there be a reconciliation? There was a news report suggesting these two could speak on the phone today, but then Trump told ABC News he wasn't interested in speaking with Musk and described Musk as a man who has lost his mind. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting Trump is thinking of selling the Tesla that Musk gave him as a gift back in happier times. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly.
He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
He's our expert in communications, crisis communications, political communications, branding, leadership. Barry McLaughlin, back with us, president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. Barry lectures at the Telfer School of Management at the University of Ottawa and at the MBA program at the Shannon School of Business at Cape Breton University. And you can read Barry on his Substack. Whatever will we talk about today?
Oh, my God.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It was just last week we were talking about Elon Musk trying to distance himself from Trump after leaving the administration, how he was trying to do some reputation repair. And now it's all blown up. I mean, it's all a war between these two, it would seem. How shocked are you that this has become so bitter so fast?
Well, I'm not shocked at all, and this has been one of the most projected of battles. Projected cataclysmic ends to a bromance that you've ever read. This has been going on now for several months. How long will this last? Well, boy, it didn't take, a couple of days before he left the White House, and it just blew up. So both of them inflicted the damage, that's for sure. And, when two narcissists go at each other with that emotional rage, that's sometimes just under the surface, sometimes out in the open, you got a battle here that there's going to be no real winner, but I think that each of them have a real concern. I would be very concerned if I were Trump. There's real stakes attached to this in particular.
Well, let's talk about a few different angles here. There's so many ways to analyze this.
Yeah.
I mean, Musk tweeted yesterday, Trump's in the Epstein files. That's why he won't release them. Okay, very damaging. What can Musk do to damage Trump, do you think?
Well, the number one thing he could do, and he's already vowed he's going to do it, he's going to step into the 2026 midterms. He's going to put money against any incumbent Republican that votes for this, that's up for election in the midterms. And he has proven that with enough money, he can make the difference in an election campaign, as he did with Trump. So I think I would be worried if I were a congressman or senator that's running for re-election and I voted and endorsed this bill. He will, especially in the swing states, but he will go after them wherever they are, and he's got the money to do it still. So I think that's number one concern for Trump. Can really lose on that. If you lose control of Congress, it won't be just this, I don't think, but that's a very major initiative that could really make a difference between win and lose. So that's number one.
Yeah, and then it's gridlock, and nothing is going to get done, right? So, yeah,
that's right.
All right. On the flip side, I mean, it's one thing to be the wealthiest person in the world. It's another to be the most powerful person in the world, and that's Donald Trump. Like it or not, that's Donald Trump. Commands a $21 trillion economy.
Yeah,
and could really make life difficult for Elon Musk and his companies and his shareholders. What damage can Trump do to Musk?
Well, he already has. He cut the EV mandate for electric cars that Biden had put in, and this immediately, the Tesla tanked again in the stock market. That he was really counting on that. He felt that he was betrayed by Trump on this. There was Trump promoting the Tesla on the grounds of the White House, and then suddenly he's pulling the plug on it because it was a Biden, influenced EV. I mean, we can't have that. So that's all part of the MAGA, reality. So essentially, he already heard him on that. He's already cut his contracts with the federal government with regard to SpaceX and so on, and the Dragon rocket spaceship, whatever, has already been threatened by Musk. He's already decommissioning it. So there's a lot of back and forth on these very critical contracts and amounts of money and benefits that Musk was receiving as a result of this relationship. So he's losing on this side too. There's no real clear winner in it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about MAGA and how MAGA, the base for Donald Trump, how it might react to this feud, this epic feud, with Barry McLaughlin, who's with us today from TLC, talking about Trump versus Musk, Musk versus Trump. The MAGA base has been with Trump, and it's been unwavering. I mean, through impeachments, through civil litigation, through criminal trials, through all of it, Barry. But I do wonder if they have been viewing Trump and Musk as kind of two sides of the same coin. What do you see happening here with the MAGA base in this dispute?
I think there's no doubt that the base will be with Trump. It always was, always will be. You don't really know Musk. He's a bit of a cartoon character to them. Yes, they admire his successes and everything else, but they don't have the relationship with him that they feel they have with Donald J. Trump. So they will go with Trump, especially the low information voters, which is very significant in MAGA world. The high information voters will start to break out what is it that he's trying to get across here in legislation. Oh my God, the deficits are worse. He slashed all these agencies. Okay, fine, we're losing votes because of some of that. But where is it all leading to? Oh yes, tax cuts for the wealthy. Wait a minute now. So they start to, deconstruct this and wonder, wait a second here. And once you shake that loose, it's just enough to make a difference. state by state and district by district in terms of the midterms. So there's real damage on the horizon there.
Okay. What do you do if you're the Democrats? There's kind of an old line: if your opponent's shooting himself in the foot, don't get in the way.
Yeah.
I wonder if you just kind of sit back, order the popcorn, and watch how it all unfolds. What do you think?
You're making a great point. They have to be very careful how they handle this. You can go over the top and ruin it. Whoops! Don't get in the way of it, as you say. So I think they pretty well, once the disaster's underway, nurture it. Put a spotlight on it, but don't necessarily jump in and try to pronounce on things very much. I think they should let that happen. Biggest thing they're missing right now is who's the leader of the Democratic Party, who is the potential leader. It's very scattered around, and so that tends to not gel into a strong position in the electorate. But that's going to come eventually, one would think. But in the meantime, they need to make sure that they get their act together, speak strongly and clearly. One thing I'm learning is that there's not enough information reaching the average voter in the states that are hit by these tariffs and are going to be hit by our retaliatory tariffs from Canada. They're just not that aware of it. And I strongly believe there should be a state-by-state communication strategy of the Government of Canada aimed at those states to say, ask your leaders in your state why they're not standing up for you. Why are they not fighting against the tariffs that will be hurting you and your family and your community? That's what's happening, and it's very important that you be aware of it. Canadians are being hit equally hard, and we need to make sure that you stand up for yourselves as you're facing this terrible situation. We got to do that state by state because it really is high impact.
So last week, as I said, we were talking about Elon Musk attempting reputation repair. Does this now big split with Trump help in that effort? What do you think?
Well, I think you got to make a point. You've got to move somewhere with it. Tesla may not be recoverable, but he's got other enterprises that need to turn a corner. And right now, when the CEO is fighting the president of the United States, I don't think it's that helpful. In fact, I don't believe it is helpful. So he's got to get this out of his system. He's going to take a big hit on probably all of his portfolios of all of these companies until he sorts this out in some way. All the controls are not in his hands, but he is going to be hurt, at least in the short and medium term. There's no doubt about it. But unfortunately, with his ego so gargantuan, he probably won't be persuaded to tone it down, to hone in and stop the kind of name calling. He can't help himself, and nobody's going to look him in the eye and tell him not to.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Barry, for your insight today.
Thank you, Rob.
Have a great weekend. Yeah, bye-bye. Barry McLaughlin from TLC Transformational Leadership Consultants. Tom Korski is just ahead. He's with us every week from Blacklock's Reporter. This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
Tom Korski is back with us. He's the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you, Rob.
That's good. Just a note to our listeners, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, having a news conference along with several of his front bench cabinet ministers. It hasn't started yet. These things rarely start on time. In Ottawa, they gather the press corps together at a certain time. They never start on time. We have a good idea what this is going to be about. Dominic LeBlanc has kind of let the cat out of the bag here. It's about C5, which is an act to enact the Free Trade and Labor Mobility in Canada Act and the Building Canada Act. Remember the promise from the government, free trade in Canada by July 1st. And now there's some backpedaling on that. Doesn't look like they're going to get, they table the bill by July 1st, as they're doing now. Whether they can actually get it done by July 1st, well, that's something else altogether. So,
Rob, I never understood the promise and the deadline. I'm from Manitoba. I'm going to keep this short. Manitoba's a poor province. Forget about health, education, and welfare. Like, I remember they couldn't pave the roads. Manitoba makes about $500 million a year on the old Manitoba Liquor Control Board. Now they sell cannabis too. Where are they supposed to make up that $500 million a year under a free trade agreement that would allow any liquor to be purchased by Manitoba residents? You know, there's not a conspiracy against interprovincial trade. It's about dollars and cents that a lot of poor provinces really rely on. Feds have never explained that.
Yeah. And I think one of the more contentious issues as well will be, what about something like in Atlantic Canada? What about something like fish processing, for example? You have a lot of small communities like in Newfoundland and Labrador, whatever, might have a small fish plant. Are they really going to, what happens if fish processing, for example, moves to some centralized location because now there's, free trade and these barriers have come down? It's a lot more complicated than I think they've made it out to be.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Good luck to them with the effort. Now, top story at Blacklocks today. Nice pay bump for about a third of the backbench, the Liberal backbench, getting a $20,000 raise. What's going on?
You get the bonus if you're a parliamentary secretary. And that, I got to tell you, when we call that a part-time job, Rob, I mean real part. You know, your job is mainly to pose and draw a salary. Once in a while, you'll table a document in the House of Commons or read a script that is given to you by political aides. But Carney's appointed a third of the backbench as parliamentary secretaries, 39 of them. Harper had 26. This is my favorite stat. There were 7 in the Second World War. we have 2 for housing, 2 for industry, 2 for foreign affairs. It just goes on and on. And then the cabinet's going to turn around and name committee chairs, 25. So we have to say, Rob, that is a poor and sad Liberal backbencher who doesn't get an appointment of some kind this round.
Yeah. Wouldn't you feel left out? Like, what's wrong with me?
That's a real kick in the head.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of how the government spends your money, new report out from the budget officer about the interest that will be paid on the national debt. What's the track on that?
Fastest growing line item in the budget. It's not even close. It is headed for $70 billion a year by the end of this decade, 2029, says the budget office. That's $70 billion. It's far more than what we spend on national defense, about twice. And it's more than Parliament spends now or will spend in 2029 on health care. $70 billion a year that you're paying for nothing. All that is interest on the debt. You get nothing for that except the satisfaction of making bondholders happy.
What was it before the pandemic hit? I mean, there was a lot of spending during the pandemic, obviously.
Staggering figures. It's triple. It was 25 under.
It was 25.
$24.4 billion before the pandemic. Interest charges headed for 70. You cannot find any other expenditure. I don't mean aid for widows' pensions or the orphanage or sold wheelchair ramps at the old soldiers' home. You cannot name any other item in the budget that has grown as fast as debt interest.
Wow, that is stunning. Let's talk about what the big banks are doing. Are we getting a Christmas gift from the big banks? Tom, what's up?
Says the regulator. This is voluntary. What the regulator of the Bank Act regulations, Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, it's called, is promising everyone will qualify, with strings attached, but everyone will qualify for a $4 a month checking account by Christmas. The maximum transactions are 12, but the offer is there. And if you are low income, a student, one of the poor seniors who qualifies for the guaranteed income supplement, if you draw the disability benefit, if you are Indigenous, under some circumstances, you may get a waiver of the $4. But this has been a long time coming. They've been after this for years, Rob. $4 checking account.
Okay. We're going to stop here with Tom Korski. He's the managing editor at Blacklocks Reporter. We have a lot more to tell you about developments today on supply management in agriculture and what's been happening in the House on that. That is a top trade irritant for the Trump administration. Protections for supply managed agriculture, dairy, egg, and poultry. What's the status on that? and as well a massive omnibus bill that you must know about, the Strong Borders Act, Bill C2, and what's in it. This is going to get a thorough looking over, you can imagine, as it makes its way through Parliament. We'll ask Tom. He's been sifting through it. The Bloc Québécois has been speaking out for many, many years because most of the dairy farmers that are in the country are in the province of Quebec. So it is politically important for the Bloc Québécois to stand up for those dairy farmers who operate under supply management, quota system, marketing boards, all of this. What's the latest on protecting supply management, Tom?
The Bloc brought back a bill they had passed to the Commons 2 years ago that said that now and for 1,000 years in perpetuity, no one can ever alter any quota for dairy, eggs, or poultry in any future trade talks, anytime, anywhere. The vast majority of farm groups are free traders. They opposed the bill, and the Commons passed it without a committee hearing this time, not a dissenting vote. But there was a catch, and the Bloc knows what it is. And the last time the Commons passed the bill, because of the obvious politics you mentioned, it went over to the Senate, and it sort of just kind of stuck around for over a year, and then the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee killed it. They just beat it with a stick because it is a highly contentious measure. The protest has always been that if the 12,000 dairy farmers are the golden boy in trade negotiations, that just means someone else is going to pay twice.
Yeah. The vast majority, as you pointed out last week when you were with us, Tom, the vast majority of farmers do not operate under a quota system.
Absolutely
right?
not.
So, yeah.
No, and grain growers in particular testified against this when they had committee hearings last year in the Senate, where senators, they sort of harumphed and said, the Commons did a slipshod job on this. Why are they kicking the political hot potato down to the Senate? Well, everyone knows why. Senators weren't up for re-election on April 28th. But cattlemen, you name it, canola growers, the vast majority are free traders, and that means free and trade. No special shields for 12,000 dairy farmers.
Okay. I think this bill's going to get a thorough looking at. I would hope so. Anyway, especially in a minority government where the Liberals do not control the committees. It's C2. It's the unofficial term is Strong Borders Act, and there's all kinds of stuff in there. You've been sifting through it. What have you found out?
It is packed. It is packed full of initiatives. Let's just call them initiatives. One of them is the most interesting. This has been around for years. The bill would allow police to do something they cannot do now, which is intercept mail in transit. It would allow police to open the mail, and it would allow postal inspectors to do something they cannot do, which is open a letter. Postal inspectors currently can only open a suspicious package. Police and some other advocates have been after this for years. But, Rob, this law goes back to Johnny MacDonald. This is an 1867 law, and this is where it gets very interesting. The post office was always seen as hands-off in terms of police inspections because it's a form of communication. And I can guarantee you there will be libertarians and civil rights advocates who will go to committee on this bill and say, if you can pass a law saying that police can intercept communication on paper, then what's to stop them from intercepting communication electronically? And now we're in the soup.
Yeah. Yeah, and what they're seeking is the ability to obtain people's IP addresses without a warrant, which will raise all kinds of alarm bells for a lot of people. It also includes measures on what's been happening, and you and I have talked about this on the asylum claim business. If you've been here more than a year, you wouldn't be able to get a hearing, and your case would basically be forwarded to the authorities who determine who gets deported. That is because there are so many people here on temporary permits, and what they have been seeing, Tom, is a real spike, specifically in asylum claims from people who came here to study as international students, and now their visas are expiring and they don't want to leave. They didn't come here as refugees, but they have nevertheless been making asylum claims. So that's why that's in there.
Absolutely. And the Department of Immigration itself has said they've lost track of how many people are in Canada illegally, how many foreigners. And they say it could be anywhere. It's quite a range from 25,000 to 500,000. Who knows?
Right.
500,000, Rob.
Yeah, right. But maybe 25,000. 25,000,
yin-yang
500,000, somewhere in between there. Okay. Right. Let's wrap up on this. How's the government doing at collecting fines? I understand not very well.
Yeah, so. The backlog is about 6 years. They have, 21 employees working on this. These are civil fines, breach of the Fisheries Act, Employment Insurance Act, Income Tax Act. Typically, fines range from as little as $250 to as much as $100,000 or more. The backlog is over $250 million, $261 million, says the Crown Prosecution Service. They estimate it would take 6 years, based at current collection rates, to eliminate that backlog. 6 years.
Holy smokes. $261 million in unpaid fines. Naughty Canadians. Okay. Well, thank you, Tom, reporting from the smoky skies of Ottawa today, but offering clarity nonetheless. We'll speak soon. Bye-bye. Yeah, Tom Korski, the managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today it's the Friday free-for-all, our favorite day of the week around here. We don't come up with the topics on Fridays. We always have topics on Fridays. But on Fridays, we like to leave the heavy lifting up to you and find out what's on your mind and what you want to talk about. Wide open today. If you want to talk about something that's been in the news, well, there's always news going on, and there's lots of news today that we can talk about. If you want to talk about something that you think should be in the news, let us know. You can give us a call right now. We will follow your lead, and all our phone lines are open, as a matter of fact. 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. If you have never called before, just mention that, and we'll make your call a priority. We love to hear from first-time callers. We heard a lot of new voices yesterday. Speaking of yesterday, just as our show was winding down yesterday, the feud, which may be a mild word for it, between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, well, that was just heating up on social media. And I mean, it has been epic. And this certainly has not been good for my social media addiction. And I doubt it's been good for David's social media addiction either. David, I don't know about you. I have been mainlining anything to do with Trump and Musk since yesterday afternoon. Yeah. We'd love to know what you make of it all. Oh, yes, we would. And whether you're taking one side or another on this. I mean, it's Trump versus Musk. This is a heavyweight battle here. Are you on Team Trump? Are you on Team Musk? Or do you think they both deserve each other? Is it a case of a pox on both their houses? What do you think about everything that is going on here? What do you make of these wild accusations that have been flying back and forth? Elon Musk claimed that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files and that's why the Epstein files haven't been made public. I mean, what do you think of that? What do you think that means? What kind of dirt does Elon Musk actually have on Donald Trump? And if Trump is somehow implicated in the Jeffrey Epstein affair, what do you think about Elon Musk keeping that to himself until now? Musk also said Trump wouldn't have won the election if it wasn't for him. Do you think that's true? It has been reported that Elon Musk spent almost $300 million of his own money helping Donald Trump win that election last fall. Would it have been President Kamala Harris President of the United States, Kamala Harris, instead of President Trump, if not for Elon Musk? What do you think? What do you think the MAGA following is going to make of all this? The MAGA movement, the Trump base. Do you think this in any way hurts Trump with his base? Do you think MAGA is going to turn on Elon Musk now? Is Elon Musk going to be one of the enemies of the people, or part of the deep state, or all this other stuff that you hear all the time in U.S. politics? Is Elon Musk powerful enough to bring down Donald Trump? Is Elon Musk powerful enough to bring down Donald Trump? Or is Donald Trump going to bring down Elon Musk? I mean, I've never seen anything like it in all my years. You have two of the most powerful people in the world. You certainly have the most powerful person in the world politically in the president of the United States, Donald Trump. You have the wealthiest person in the world in Elon Musk. I mean, if you were inclined to place a bet on who would come out on top in this battle, who'd you be picking? We did not get a chance to ask you about this yesterday. That's why we want to ask you about it today. Just get your thoughts on everything that's unfolded in the last 24 hours. It's been incredible. 1-833-668-2577. Let's take Cheryl's call. Cheryl is calling from Halifax today. Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Rob, there's millions and millions of Canadians waiting on bated breath for this new Canada disability benefit. That's a whopping $200 a month.
Yeah.
And, we were told applications starting May 15th. I don't know if it has to do with Mark Carney having to go back to, Parliament. I think it might.
Okay.
So it would be nice if someone said, you know what, we're going to be able to make the applications, because Service Canada is the place you go to apply, but nobody knows anything about it, Rob, and it's due to be paid as of July to Canadians with disabilities.
In 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And yet when you inquire with Service Canada, that they don't know anything about it.
They don't know anything, Rob. I know more than they do, dear.
Isn't that something? Yeah, I remember this. It was $2,400 a year because we did some interviews on it. As not certainly enough to. I mean, a lot of people with disabilities are living on basically monthly stipends from the government, right? Modest disability checks from the government, and it's very, very difficult to get by on. I mean, in Ontario, which I would be more familiar with, I think it's something like, it may be $1,300 a month. How can you live on $1,300 a month?
You don't live, Rob. You're just breathing. You're not living.
Yeah. Like, what would it be if you were on, say, a disability support program from the Nova Scotia government? How much would you qualify for in a run of a month?
$1,100 is what I.
$1,100. And how do you live in the city of Halifax on $1,100 a month? You don't.
You really don't. You hope you have generous family, which, really isn't always the case, right? And you hope the grocery bill comes down, which hasn't been happening.
Right. David has looked up the government webpage associated with this, and it says further information regarding the application process will be posted in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's said that for months, Rob. And
it has said that for months. Okay.
And it's due to be paid out in July. So
people were anticipating payments in July?
Yeah, it does say that. Payments to be made in July.
Okay. Do you know anybody who has filled out an application?
You can't, because
you can't even fill out an application at this point.
No, Service Canada knows nothing. They just keep putting us off, and I'm just wondering if it has to do with Mark Carney and him, just getting into Parliament, to be able to do,
Well,
get
yeah,
the
and plus
job
Parliament
done.
hasn't been, up until this week, Parliament really hasn't done anything for 6 months because of all the turmoil. Mr. Trudeau leaving and the leadership race and the election and everything else. You know what? Leave that with us.
Okay,
leave that with us over the weekend.
Parliament has really affected us, right? We had nobody representing Canada.
We're going to do some calls. We'll make some calls on this, and we will try and line up an interview. Friday Free for All, wide open on topics today. Eric is in Halifax. Hello, Eric.
How you doing, Rob?
Hey, Eric. Good. How are you doing?
Good. I think Canadians and people all over the world should take a minute and thank the thousands and thousands of soldiers that gave us our freedom on this day, June the 6th.
Yeah. D-Day anniversary, 81 years. Yeah. 14,000.
Yep. And that
14,000.
was,
yeah.
That, I mean, if it wasn't for them, God knows who'd be running us. And we'd probably be in the worst cahoots that we are with those two nuts down in the States. So if you see a veteran, say thank you and shake his hand.
Yeah.
And that's
Can you
about
imagine?
all I have to say.
Can you imagine? It's such a good point that you raised. I'm glad somebody brought this up. We lost almost 400 that one day, D-Day, and there were 1,000 casualties in all. Just incredible. 14,000 though. 14,000. Stormed the beaches to liberate Europe in the Battle of Normandy, of course. Great for you to point that out, Eric in Halifax. Thank you so much. I'm sure you're going to watch the hockey game tonight with Edmonton in action tonight. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup final rematch, Edmonton and Florida. Let's go to Jacob is out in Calgary. Hi, Jacob. Hi, Jacob. Are you with me? Nope, no Jacob. Let's go to Jay, then in Kitchener. Hi, Jay. Nope, no Jay either. How about Carol?
Hi.
Let's try Carol in Ottawa.
Hi, how are you, Rob?
I'm good, Carol. Yeah, good to hear from you.
Great. Rob, long-time listener and been following you and Dave for a long time.
Well, thank
Great.
you. That's very
Keep up
kind.
the great work. I'm calling. I wanted to dovetail on that lady that called about this new disability benefit that's supposed to kick in July.
Okay.
One thing one must have to qualify for that is a disability tax credit.
Okay.
And a doctor has to sign off on that. I've been working on this for almost a year come September to try to find a doctor for a family member to get that form completed.
Wow.
Yeah. And so my nephew, is missing out on many opportunities to apply for other programs, but it's all contingent on this form. His doctors have retired. There's been no replacement. It's almost impossible to find a doctor, especially if they don't have history of the patient, which I understand, to sign off on that document.
Right. He can't go to a walk-in clinic or anything like that.
I hear comments about, some of these programs not being utilized. Enrollment is down. I think this is a part of the problem is because people don't have a family doctor to get the form signed.
Right. Isn't that something? That's something I didn't even consider.
Yes. It's a big issue. I don't know. I've been lobbying with members of Parliament here in Ottawa, trying to just get this awareness raised that, in my case, my nephew was born with the disability, and he is on Ontario disability, but this money would mean a lot. And the other factor for some of these people too is the fact that they're probably going to have to pay a couple $100 to get the form signed if they're able to get a doctor, and some of them don't even have that money to lay out at the front end.
There would be a service fee for something like that?
Oh, yes,
like
because some doctors are charging for that now, which I understand, for doing paperwork. I fully understand that.
Okay. And you've been trying for a year just to find somebody to do the paperwork.
Paperwork, that's it. It's the paperwork. So, yes, I understand that. So some people are reluctant to move forward, even though they could realize a couple $1,000s throughout the year, in their pocket. They don't have the initial layout.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. Yeah. And I really would like to. I've been trying to get a hold of the Minister of Finance or of these programs of social health, but I just think some awareness needs to be raised about this. It's a real catch-22.
Okay. Yeah. The more I learn about it, it seems a program that's maybe it's going through some growing pains. There are things to sort out. The previous caller said nobody's even been able to apply yet, and yet some were hoping that they would get money in their bank in July.
That's right.
So,
She's absolutely right. About a week ago, I sent an email off to you and Dave about this.
Okay.
Relative to my own family situation, and
right.
And over the last few years, I know I've been hearing reports. These programs aren't being utilized. Well, this could be part of the problem. And I'm like, in this case, let's just say, Rob, my nephew would have had to jump hoops to get Ontario disability, and I'm sure the same for the federal program. Why can't they use some of that data to help, like, just speed the processes up? Like, my nephew's going to be a long term.
Right.
He's never going to get better. If anything, he's digressing.
Okay. Right. And
so
if
I'm
he's
thinking,
already qualified for one,
this could be circumvented.
Sure. And if he's already qualified for one government disability program at the provincial level, it means he has been assessed. Why then would he have to be assessed again? Right? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Part of the problem, Rob, is there's the silos. You're talking two levels of government. One's Ontario,
exactly.
one's federal. But why can't they be a feeder?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why couldn't one be a feeder to the other?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And
Thank
also,
you.
when you check, like in his case, you check they could go into CRA and check and see that he's worked very, very, very minimal.
Right.
He's 47 now. But so they can see, like, he's not even capable of really holding down
and
a
they
job.
would see the payment. They would see the payments because the payments are coming from the disability support program. Look, I have to run, but thank you. More awareness.
Hey, Mike in Halifax.
Mike in Halifax works too. Yep, let's do that.
So happy Friday, Rob.
Yeah, same to you. Same to you.
So I listen every day, and every day I get a little worked up about being called lazy from Albertans because I'm on the East Coast. But yesterday, man, it fired me up.
Oh, it did. Okay.
So if you do a little bit of research, you find out that 129,000 people in Alberta are on income assistance. 70,000 people in Atlantic Canada, or Maritimes, not Atlantic Canada, Maritimes, 70,000 are on income assistance.
Right.
So if we're so lazy and unmotivated here, and now I know there's a population difference, so you figure it out per capita.
Yeah.
And we figured it out per capita, and it's pretty much dead even. So if we're so lazy and have no work ethic here, why do they have just as many people on income assistance on the land of milk and honey, where everyone works so hard and there's so much work for everyone? It's so good. I want to throw that out there to your Albertan listeners and see what they have to say.
Okay.
It fired me up, man. I work hard for everything I have, and all my
and
friends
I'm sure
do, and I've even
are you born? Let me ask you: are you born and raised in Atlantic Canada?
I am.
In Halifax. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've probably known a lot of people who have gone to Alberta to get work, right?
I did, and I'm not like I love Alberta. It's a great spot, beautiful country or beautiful province. I still have friends that I keep in contact with there, but just some of the attitudes calling in are like, we're all lazy back here and we don't want to do nothing but suck on the tit of
government
Alberta
teat and whatever. Yeah.
It's just it couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, the whole Energy East pipeline that was started from a maritime business, Irving. We wanted it. We all wanted it. It was going to be great for everyone. Yeah. It wasn't Atlantic Canada that stopped that. We all know who it was. But I'm not going to bash them. Just like people bash us, I'm going to leave that alone.
Okay. All right. But that fired you up yesterday. Fair enough. The Albertans certainly had their say yesterday when we were talking about, is there something about Alberta? How is the West different from the West? And what came through loud and clear is a lot of Albertans think that they have a different kind of work ethic than people in other parts of the country. I don't know if other people want to weigh in on that today. That was a hot topic yesterday, certainly. And that's why Mike wanted to respond to that today. More of your calls on the Friday Free for All Talkback coming up right after the news on News Radio. 1-833-668-2577. It's Talkback on News Radio. Arnold, up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback. What's on your mind? Arnold, let's go.
Hi, how are you today, Rob?
I'm good. Yeah, just fine. Yeah. What's on your mind?
Well, that last lady that called, well, I hope she's moving. I hope she's packing her bag.
Okay.
Most of the people that I know that live out west here don't have any problem with the Atlantic provinces. The biggest problem they have is Quebec and the Liberals. Simple as that.
Right.
The Liberals, they're gaslighting us. They're stealing our money. They're laundering money. And they're trying to they're in it for themselves. That's my beef today, Rob.
Okay. I think, one of the things that's come up during our conversations over the course of the week is that a lot of Albertans think they work harder than other Canadians. What do you think of that?
No, whatever. I mean, it's the same everywhere, right? You got
same
people
everywhere.
That work, people
Okay.
that don't.
Right. Not trying to stir the pot here or anything. But.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the West isn't representative enough in Parliament because there's more population out here now.
Yeah.
And we're not getting our say.
Fair enough, sir. Okay. Thank you very much. Arnold, good to hear from you. Let's go to Joe is up next. He's also in Calgary today. Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Joe.
How you doing today, Rob?
Just like I told the last caller and the caller before him, sir. I'm just fine. Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you. I noticed in the media all the talk about fentanyl and all the drugs and everything, Canada, United States, and coming in from China and stuff. And not once has any politician or any station ever mentioned where the problem stems from. And that's the Hells Angels. And I'm wondering how come it's never focused on.
Okay.
It's not mentioned. I know people are scared. I'm worried just making this call, but it's the truth. Never, ever. And they're right out in everybody's face. Their clubhouses are on the main roads in Vancouver, Alberta, all through Alberta.
Really?
Nothing's ever mentioned about the fentanyl and the connection to them, if there is a connection.
Okay.
So that's my question.
Do you think there's is this just an idea that you have, or is it some knowledge that you have that it's the biker gangs are in the fentanyl business? You think the biker gang, maybe
well,
they are?
They don't sell flowers.
No, they're not in the flower business, right?
But the big question is all the big talk about, these little street gangs, and I mean little street gangs, very dangerous, but nothing about the head of them all. So why is that? That's just a question for the media, and a question for, why isn't it focused on?
Yeah, I don't have I don't have a good answer for you.
The divorce between Elon and Trump.
Right. What do you think of how all that played out?
I think it's wonderful.
You do?
Because it's like life. Karma will get you. And right now, the Trump family is the American cartel. It's as simple as that. And there's nobody to police them. No one. Because they've got everything wrapped up tight, and nobody can do anything. Not the judges, not the Supreme Court. Let's face it, the Supreme Court, imagine receiving $2.5 million in gifts, and nobody does anything about it. So he's got everything wrapped up. You can't do nothing to that family. They're making more money than they ever did in their life, and they're making it illegally, and there's nothing that can be done. But I'm hoping that this is the downfall of the whole bunch of them. I don't know how it's going to be done, but let's pray it is.
Do you think Musk could bring down Trump?
Definitely, 100%.
Really?
100%.
Okay. All right. He was in there, he was in there for a while. So maybe he knows, the old line, he knows where the bodies are buried or whatever. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, no, it's going to get good. It's going to, like the previous caller said, it's going to be great entertainment. Unfortunately, Canada's taking the beat of it all.
Okay.
It's not fair. It's not good. We love the Americans. Hopefully they love us. Hopefully we can stick to that and remember it's all politics. But when it starts hitting you in the pocketbook, then that's how wars start.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
That's how wars start.
Good to hear from you, Joe. Thank you. Jody.
Bye.
Yeah. I believe we have Jody up next on Talk Back on the Friday Free for All. Hi, Jody.
Oh, hey, Rob.
Hey.
Hey, it's been a good week. Edmonton won, and the Blue Jays are actually starting to play good, so that's a good sign for Canada.
Yeah.
And I just want to say about the Albertan maritime situation. Like I've been in Alberta for 20 years, and I'm from New Brunswick, and since I've been here, it's like everybody brags about how good workers that come from the Maritimes and the Atlantic provinces. So I never got any slack for that at all.
Okay.
And I find Alberta like the people in Alberta have treated me very awesome, and so there's no so I don't see what the problem is with that situation.
Okay. Where do you think this? Well, I mean, one of the ideas is, well, people in Atlantic Canada rely more on the government, whereas in Alberta they don't. What do you think about that? Like Albertans are more self-reliant, or something, is what kind of came through yesterday.
I think maybe so, because there's not much there's not as much work in the Atlantic provinces. So
sure, yeah.
Like when people come here to work and then they get laid off, or they're just here on a project, and then they go back home and they get their pogie, as they call it. I mean, it's like that's a part of life. Like in the Maritimes, I mean, they draw unemployment, right?
Yeah.
So but out here, if you live here, if you stay here, it's the odds of you get drawing unemployment, it's not as the same as the Maritimes. So
right on. Yeah. Okay.
And
right.
One more question for you: is Mark Miller still and is he still like a MP?
He's an MP, but he's not a cabinet minister.
Okay, because I seen his little head pop up there the other day when I was watching the House of Commons, and I thought, oh my God, he's still there.
Yeah.
But anyway,
he's from Montreal. The Liberals did really well in Montreal. I mean, they won most of the ridings there. So yeah, he's still around.
Yeah, that's right. He is a Quebecer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Got to run. Thank you. Yeah. Bye bye. You are right though. The Jays are playing well, like 8-2 in their last 10, and they're above 500, 5.5 games behind the Yankees for first place in the American League East. To Jay up next in Calgary. Hi, Jay.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, Jay. Thanks. What's up?
Hey, just listening to your show and heard about the comments about people from Nova Scotia being lazy. I just wanted to comment. I strongly disagree. I grew up in Ontario, moved to Nova Scotia when I was 19 to go to university, and then moved to Calgary. I've been here for 30 years. I've got some of my best friends are from Nova Scotia. Some of the smartest people I've ever met are from Nova Scotia, and they're the same. They're driven. They care about their families, their children, their parents. So I'm not sure what the comments from Alberta is about people in Nova Scotia being lazy, but
Well, I don't know if anybody even see. Yesterday we did a show, and the topic was what's different about the West. With the backdrop being anger in the West, Western separation, all of this stuff. Is there something that makes the West different from the rest of Canada? Now, nobody really explicitly came out and said, well, those Nova Scotians, they're lazy. But the inference was people in Eastern Canada rely more on the government, whereas people in Alberta, multiple callers said this, are more self-reliant, and they don't rely on the government as much. In fact, they want to be more free of the government, if anything else. What would you say to that?
So I absolutely believe that, and I'm that way myself. I don't need any help. I don't want any help from the government. And I think it's more of people in Alberta want to reach their potential, and I believe that across the country. And I think there's a sentiment that federal government gets in our way, and that's probably where that comes from. But back to the original comment.
Yeah.
I think there's there's lazy people across the country, and there's people who are
sure.
driven, and yeah. Anyway, I just got a little bit irritated when I heard those comments that people from Alberta think other people are lazy.
Okay.
Anyway.
That's okay. Fine. Yeah. Fine and dandy, and fair enough. Thank you so much for your call and sharing your experiences. Yeah, we are kind of revisiting that topic that we talked about yesterday. We can do that again, but it'll have to wait until after the news, I'm afraid. Hour number 1 of Talkback flew by, but a full hour of, we hope, your calls and your topics today on the Friday Free for All Talkback, right after the latest breaking news.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to hour number 2 of the Friday Free for All Talkback. Wide open today. I do have a topic, though, that I'd like to run by you, and maybe it'll generate some interest. Because one of the big stories in Canadian politics this week is what Prime Minister Carney is doing with India and China. Really welcome some opinions on this. I mean, it's no secret relations with both of these countries have been ice cold lately, especially with China after we slapped a 100% tariff on Chinese-made EVs. We were following the Americans on that. We did that because the Americans did that. But that was back when Trudeau was Prime Minister and Biden was the president. You remember back in the good old days. In response to those tariffs, China slapped Canada with tariffs, of course, on our canola, 100% tariff. I mean, it's killer on our canola farmers, a 100% tariff. And on seafood, like Atlantic Canada lobster, 25%, and pork, 25%. Really damaging those industries. But now the Prime Minister is speaking with Premier of China, not Xi, but a guy named Li Kang. I apologize if I'm not saying that right. But it's been reported they are communicating through regular channels now. And Carney says he's going to try and get the tariffs lifted and that it's a priority. On the India situation, there's a big story today, because Prime Minister Modi is coming to Canada for the G7, which is just in a couple of weeks from now in Kananaskis. And it was Mark Carney who invited him. That's the reason he's coming. He's been invited by Prime Minister Carney. Love to know what you think about that on the India situation. This is a relationship that it's gone off the rails. You will recall a couple of years ago, Justin Trudeau accused agents of the government of India of having a role in the murder of a prominent Sikh activist. Hardeep Singh Nijjar was a pro-Khalistan activist. He wanted a separate state for Sikhs. And this has, for a very long time, been a problem with the Canada-India relationship. India sees Canada as way too soft. And even providing a safe haven for Khalistan separatists. But that was a very damning allegation that Trudeau made, basically that the Modi government was sending hit squads to Canada to kill Canadian citizens on Canadian soil. But apparently Mr. Carney wants to repair this relationship. And former Prime Minister Stephen Harper said we should try and repair this relationship. He made a speech at an event in Brampton last weekend and essentially said the same thing Carney is saying. Harper also said, stop playing nice with people who support the idea of Khalistan. But here you have two important countries, home to almost 3 billion people, enormous economic opportunities, large diaspora communities in Canada. The big question is, should we have closer economic ties with these two countries? What would you say? Both have their problems. Obviously, they have problems with us. What do you think? I know we have a lot of Indo-Canadian listeners to this show. I'd love to hear from you on that. If you want to weigh in, Please do so right now. 1-833-668-2577 or anything that's on your mind, because it's the Friday free-for-all. John is in Calgary today. Hi, John.
Yes, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Not too bad. Thanks for taking
Good.
my call. I
My
want to
pleasure.
comment on East versus West. When
Sure.
the oil sands got going back in the day, there was no advertisement here in Alberta whatsoever. It all come out of the East. The Easterner come out here, took our jobs away from us, and a lot of those lads, and trust me, I don't care where you are, who you are, you have to work, you got to work. Doesn't matter if you got to leave the country, part of the country or not. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is they didn't advertise here in Alberta for these jobs. They got them all out of the East. And a lot of those lads didn't even know how to put a key in a cack or in a hoe to get it started to go to work.
Okay. What's your point?
The point is, they took our jobs. They took the Westerners' job. A lot of us out here were born and raised on a farm, and
Right.
we knew our stuff.
Well, it sounds to me like that shouldn't really be a. I don't think you should blame people from Eastern Canada wanting to find work. Like
But
if
the
you knew the
government,
employment was there, why didn't
advertise
people
in
from
East
Alberta
and
just
not
go
in the West.
and look? The oil industry in Alberta. Are you saying it's not been good for the working people of Alberta? People
And
of
I
Alberta
also
make
know
the
people
people
who-
of
I
Alberta make the
also know
most money
welders
compared
that
to
went
any other
back
workers.
east.
The people of Alberta earn the highest incomes in the country, sir.
Well,
Highest
so,
incomes
you
in
know,
the country, and you pay the lowest taxes in the country. Like, what are you complaining about?
But the thing is, they come and took our jobs. It's just like I know a bunch of welders that went back
How many
to Ontario
decades ago?
to
How far back do you
Eastern-
want to go? How far back do you want to go?
I know a bunch of welders. You're not letting me talk, sir. There's
Go
a
ahead.
bunch of welders that went back east. They weren't allowed to go to work there because of where they were from. Go back to your own province. That's exactly what they were told to do.
Well, that may have had something to do with union regulations, labor mobility. We're
Has
still trying to
nothing to
solve
do
that
with
here in the
union.
year 2025, right?
Well, it's all union up in the tar sands too.
Okay.
And yet they come over here in dwarves and took the Westerners' job that we didn't even get to know about until such times as we were, they were all filled up out there.
I don't know. Sounds like a pretty historic grudge that you're holding there to me, sir. I think it's pretty thin gruel, if you ask me. That's my own opinion. You've had yours. I've had mine. We'll disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. Friday Free for All Talkback. You're welcome to join the discussion and take it wherever you want to. Danvir is in Calgary. Hi, Danvir.
Hello, Rob.
Hi.
Thank
Yeah,
you
how
for
are
the
you?
call.
Yeah, my pleasure. Go ahead.
Hey, the general thing about the Canadian international relations, right? So, like for the economic purposes, I don't think any country or any region in the world can take the place of the U.S. or the dependence that we have on the U.S.
Right.
The thing is, like even the other countries, some of them might have more population, but the thing is the purchasing power. So
Yes.
how many?
Sure.
What is the population that can actually purchase the things, right, or can spend? So that is where the U.S. consumer stands out compared to any other area in the world. And Canada being the closest ally and the neighbor, the physical, the geographical location, right? So they cannot lose that advantage that they have. As for the India-China relations, they need the resources, but what they end up doing, even in the last years of Harper government, was that they were purchasing the sources, not buying the resources, but not the extracted resources, but actually the sources, the mines. And that is riskier.
Right.
in
The methods
long
of
run.
production. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
no, even the methods of production, like the deep sea drilling technology, that is one part of it. But they end up buying lots of the mines in Canada. I don't right now don't recall the exact which mines they were. They were I don't know if it was the oil and gas related or was it the gold, but they were and they ended up buying the mines, not the what would be advantages for us would be selling the resources, not the mines, right? That is the wealth. That is why Canada is the richest country, right? Not the
I guess the question is with this, with this new prime minister, are we turning the page now on relations with these two countries, relations that have been, quite frankly, pretty hostile over the last few years for any number of reasons? China engaged in hostage diplomacy, kidnapped two Canadians, held them for years. Certainly, with India, I mean, the allegations are pretty damning that, the Modi government was sending hit squads here to murder Canadian citizens. Whatever you think about the Khalistan situation, India has no business sending hitmen here to murder people who hold Canadian passports and Canadian citizenship. Like that is, you just can't tolerate that sort of thing. But Carney, Prime Minister Carney, because of maybe the economic opportunities that are there, seems willing to try and patch things up, I guess. It's not going to go over very well in, I think, certain parts of the Indo-Canadian community. You know that, right?
Well, like having good relations is always good, right? But the thing is, they do need to specify the procedures. Like the Trudeau actually, in his comment about that situation, did say that if there was any problem, they could have approached us with the evidence, and we could have acted upon that evidence, right? So the proper procedure and protocol. So that needs to be upheld. I think the Canadian law would still need to be upheld anytime.
Right.
Dealing with.
Okay, but you know that the whole Khalistan issue and the Khalistan militancy in this country has long been an issue for India. Way before Modi came along, it's been an issue.
Yes, I do actually know a little bit about it. So they are two different things, militancy and Khalistan issues. So that has to be segregated when you talk about that. So militancy
I don't know,
is
sir. I mean,
not supported anywhere in the world, right?
I don't know. All right, let's just stop there, because if we get into this, it'll take more time than I have left right now, which is only about 30 seconds. I'll have to bid adieu for now.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, it's the home stretch of Talk Back, as a matter of fact. Friday free for all. Love to hear from you. Open line, open topic today. Robert is up next. Hi, Robert.
Hello.
Hey, Robert.
I wanted to comment on something a few speakers back said.
Yeah.
And that was that the oil patch advertised the jobs for the tar sands in the east and not for Albertans. I'm an old oil patch guy. I was very active in the oil patch from 1979 till 2000. I retired in 2000 from it.
Okay.
That's the period where all this was happening. And I can tell you that there were long stretches in there. There were a few slow stretches, but there were long stretches in there. We couldn't hire enough people to man the rigs for the regular oil patch. There weren't enough workers here willing to take oil patch jobs.
Okay.
And it was a shortage for probably out of that 20-year period. There's probably 15 years where the rigs couldn't hire enough people out, in Alberta. They had to go east to find workers.
Okay. Well, his allegation was people from the east were stealing Albertans' jobs, was what he said.
No, I think they were coming out here and keeping our industry open because we didn't
Okay.
have the workers to man those jobs.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I make one
And
other
I mean,
comment
yes,
on
sir.
a slightly different topic?
By all means, yes.
All right. I listened to the speeches and discussion between Mark Carney and Danielle Smith about the oil pipelines east. And I noticed a problem that may be just their choice of words, but it might be more than that. Danielle Smith was talking clearly about we would build a decarbonated oil pipeline. And that means we're going to reduce the carbonation in the oil producing side of it.
Yes.
And we're going to try and keep the carbon emission of the actual pipeline shipping side down. Mark Carney was not, at least his words were not. He said, we will build this pipeline if we can ship decarbonated oil. Decarbonated oil is unobtainium. You cannot decarbonate oil.
Yeah. Yes.
And I listened to that thing 3 times, and they were not saying the same things. They were not on the same page. I don't know what Carney meant, but it was an extremely bad choice of words if he was on the same page as Danielle Smith.
Okay. Hoping, maybe we can find that clip. And that was from earlier in the week, just after the first minister's meeting, right?
Yeah.
And they were all sitting around.
I listened to it 3 times, and he kept saying, ship decarbonated oil. And there's no such thing. And my concern is we will only build them if we can ship decarbonated oil, which means you can never build them because that product doesn't exist.
Right.
But it may be that it was a poor choice of words on his behalf. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, on this, with someone with a lot of experience in this industry, Danielle Smith is really hot on this carbon capture Pathways Alliance, building this infrastructure to essentially bury the CO2 from the production itself. Does that hold any promise? She estimated like $20 billion or something to build this, right?
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you another question. They won't let us build world oil pipelines east, but they don't have a problem with importing American, Saudi, and Venezuelan oil.
Yes.
If they're trying to do something to save the world, because oil production, what she's talking about, you can reduce. But when it comes to the actual barrel of oil, the polluter is not the company that pumped the oil. It is not the oil sands that mined the oil. The polluter is the end person who burned the oil.
Okay.
And a lot of people just don't think of it that way, but way more oil is burned in Ontario than it is in Alberta.
Okay. All right. Very interesting, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, good to hear from you. David, the specific soundbite that the caller is mentioning was from Tuesday's show on the 3rd. It was our clip Politics 4, where Danielle Smith was talking about the grand bargain. I don't know if you can, do you have that? Can you dig that up for us? You try and dig that up for us, and we'll take another call. Let's go to Jeff, is in Cambridge. Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
How are you doing, Rob?
Good, Jeff. Yeah.
I want to talk about the Ring of Fire, Ontario
Ring of Fire. Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, quite familiar with it.
My thought is taxpayers are going to pay the bill for everything, and the foreign investors is going to come in and reap the benefits.
Okay.
And it's not right because it happens in all the projects. It's like, why do taxpayers have to pay for this road if the foreign investors are going to come in and take the money?
Okay.
Also, the road is lined. There's a study. The road is moss, so it's going to be lifting this moss up, which is going to put carbon dioxide into the air of great amounts.
Yeah,
that's a little thing. But now the treaty with the First Nations, I think it is, or whoever, Indigenous.
Well, there may be multiple First Nations that they'll have to negotiate with. Sorry?
Sorry, I didn't quite.
There may have to be multiple negotiations with multiple First Nations in that part of Ontario.
And that's not going to work.
Well, you never know.
If investors do get their way and come in and mine, it'll be 10 years. They'll suck everything out of the ground, and it'll be the taxpayers that'll have to clean up the mess. And the taxpayers, when the court case comes in, it'll be the taxpayers again that'll have to pay for the fines.
Okay. I don't know, sir. There's enormous. I mean, they've been talking about it forever, 10 years, maybe even optimistic, because I mean, they've been talking about trying to build a road for 10 years and there's still no road to get. I mean, I have had this described to me. The Ring of Fire is like mining on the other side of the moon. Like that is how remote it is right now. Like it is at basically like the prospecting, old fashioned prospecting,
but it'll make
stake
Canada
your claim kind of
superpower.
thing right now. But they estimate there's enormous opportunity, especially not just with critical minerals, but something called chromite. It could be one of the world's largest deposits of chromite, which is something that gives stainless steel its nice shine. And it's very much in demand all over the world. And it's been described as there's so much chromite up there. This could be like the oil sands of Ontario, sir. Like that is how much wealth
and
could
the
be
oil
up there.
sands investors, foreign investors got that too. 70%, isn't it?
I'm not sure. Sure. There's a lot of
you lay an oil like a pipeline across Canada. Taxpayers pay for that, but the investors reap the benefits again.
No. Look, the last two big pipeline projects that were attempted, say Northern Gateway, Kinder Morgan was involved with that, walked away, spent a significant amount of money. And TransCanada Pipelines, which has been renamed now, TC Energy, I think it's called, spent $1 billion in 6 years and got nowhere. Sir, it wasn't taxpayers' money. And when the taxpayers took over the Trans Mountain project, that was supposed to be, what was it, $8 billion? It ended up being $35 billion when the taxpayers took it over, when the government was running it. It was like a project that just went way over budget and was years behind schedule. Look, I've got to run. Great to hear from you today, though. I mean, you're not bullish on the Ring of Fire. A lot of other people are. We'll have to wrap it up there, though. Thank you.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yes, it sure is. Talkback Friday free for all. As a matter of fact, Andrew is in Kitchener, Ontario. Hello, Andrew.
Yes. Hi, Rob. It's Andre.
Oh, Andre. Okay. Hi, Andre. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, I'd like to thank your show and you, National, of all the different opinion, and you let people talk. So that's one of the reasons why I'm calling. It's amazing. It's fascinating. It's educational. And it should not be easy to be you because you're absorbing the middle, right? So that's one. Two,
just taking it all in.
You're welcome. And then two is, I don't really complain because there's always worse, like the bombs down, the war, what they smell like, what they smell in the air. And now with the forest fire happening up west, we're smelling it here, so it's just part of life, unfortunately. But the thing is that we're all people and we all have the same parts of body and, we have different accents and it's just fascinating. I love geography. I love history. And but the one thing I have to pitch, Rob, because it's Friday and I'm getting ready for this, is guys, stop talking about the East because Bennett, isn't he from Ontario, and he's friend with Connor McDavid? He's going to get really, I won't say the four-letter word. And two, isn't Brad Marchand from Halifax?
Yes, he is.
Come on
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Go
you're right.
Edmonton, bring the cup home.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that tonight, actually. I didn't catch much of the last game. It was on a little too late for me on a school night, but I can sleep in tomorrow, so I'll be certainly watching that one tonight. Yeah, Edmonton and Florida, game 2 tonight. Stanley Cup Finals, and of course, you can watch that on Sportsnet. Thank you, Andre. You have yourself a great weekend. As a matter of fact, yeah, good to hear from you. You going to watch that game tonight, David? That's the plan.
It's my plan currently. If I don't fall asleep,
should be exciting. Right? I mean, it's not like you really want to venture outside because it is quite smoky. I mean, to Andre's point, we're just dealing with the smoke. It's not like we're in the fire zone and we haven't had to evacuate our homes or anything like that. So, to Andre's point, we're just dealing with poor air quality. It's not like we've been forced to flee our homes. So, good point by Andre. But I have to tell you, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, I must say. It was bad a few years ago, but the air quality is quite thick and smelly and smoky. Don't remember it being this bad when we had those fires a few years ago. What like I'm north of where you are. Is it bad in the city?
It is bad. It's the same as what I recall from 2 years ago was the last time it was bad. Bad down here, but we're at a 10 on the air quality index, which is about as bad as it gets.
Oh, is that right?
So it's, they're warning people if you have lung problems, older people, young children, kind of stay inside today. I mean, it's serious.
Yeah.
But not as serious as being near the actual fire. In fact, just in the course of the last 20 minutes or so, there's a few news alerts that have come down the wire. There's a new fire of concern on the Alberta-BC border.
Okay.
So we have the situation in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, of course, tens of thousands evacuated, but there's a new fire of concern out of control on the BC-Alberta border further west. So keep an eye on
one
that
of those,
situation.
and actually one of the, one of the major fires that it started in Saskatchewan and then it jumped the border over into Manitoba. We were talking about that earlier in the week. The Creighton fire that they've been talking about, and Premier Wab Kinew was saying like that. You have people on both sides of provincial borders, and it's like just one big border community. So a lot of those people in the northern parts of those provinces have had to head south, and they're actually kind of running out of room to house everybody. Some people from Manitoba are actually, they've had to go to Ontario. They've
in Niagara
taken
Falls,
them on,
southern Ontario,
Niagara Falls, like to Niagara Falls.
Yeah,
crying out loud. Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, be right back with some final remarks and a few more phone calls here on the Friday Free for All Talk Back here on News Radio. Looks like Jared is going to send us off today here on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Hi, Jared.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Hey, Jared. I'm good. Jared, what's up?
So I found out the other day, since you guys were talking about the Trans Mountain expansion line, I guess we're still paying for it. They're still working on it. They're doing the environmental restorations, cleanup, tree planting.
Okay.
And I guess they took out another $20 billion loan. Some of it's going to be used to pay off existing loans with the high interest. But we're still paying for it. It's not completed.
Wow. Wow, I didn't know that. Isn't that something? Where did you read that?
I was just looking on the internet. It was TMX. They're still doing like garbage cleanup. So they still got dozers out there, workers. Yeah. So it's
$20 billion. $20 billion worth. I guess, as you say, some of this is going to be used to retire older debt at a higher interest rate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you'd like to know what went into that, because I mean, I think the bill so far was $35 billion, right?
Yep.
Holy smokes, that's crazy.
They still got dozers, excavators out there, workers. They still got trees to tree plant. I bet you they're not done tree planting till next summer sometime.
Okay. Now, but was it a worthwhile endeavor? I guess that's going to be the big question. If you listen to Premier Smith, she would say absolutely. And don't listen to people like, Mr. Guilbeault and, David Eby and his people who say, well, there's lots of spare capacity. No. It's like 70, 80% right now. So, was it beneficial for not, for the industry, for the province, for the country to have, another access terminal for another market, which is what the industry has been crying for, right? To be less reliant on the United States.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. This will definitely help.
Yeah. But, and now their goal, of course, is to, kind of get a Northern Gateway built. But my gosh, the resistance in British Columbia, I don't know if that's going to go anywhere. I'm really curious to see where that goes.
I think it'd be easier doing one out east. It's a lot flatter land for a lot of it.
Yeah. And maybe, but it might not be like, say, the route that TransCanada was envisioning. Maybe it goes north. We're hearing a lot of stuff now about Churchill, Manitoba, for example. Maybe you make that the end point. I don't know how feasible that is. Hudson Bay is, frozen 6 months of the year. So how feasible is it as an oil shipping route? I don't know. But these are big, big plans that obviously will take many, many years to come to fruition, as you pointed out with Trans Mountain expansion.